Finally got the stream up. Who's the furthest around? This McLaren here. On mediums. Oh, it is okay. So they are doing full qualifying. I thought they were just gonna do short qualifying from what I'd heard, but apparently not. Why are people on? Huh. I'm so confused about there's people out on Inters at the minute, but okay. Let's get a nice onboard of the McLaren as he begins his first lap in the first lap of the session. Did well to not invalidate, got a decent exit out of turn 2. I don't know when sector 1 ends, so don't know when to check for his time. Oh, he spun it actually. Gets out the way of the cars behind. Who are the cars behind? Looks like the Red Bull. He set to 27.2. The car behind him was a Ferrari. I didn't quite see what he said to see if they're battling pace. The Red Bull now storms it through the middle sector, the fastest part of the track, into the chicane. Kept it nice and smooth through there, decent exit, DRS open now. What's his second sector looking like? Looking pretty nice, but it's a bit wide. Just as I said that, that's going to lose him some time. He hasn't invalidated though, into the final sector now. Hopefully he can make up some lost time here. But I think for this Red Bull he will definitely have to go again, because that definitely lost him some time. The 1:18.8, not the greatest of laps as it gets absolutely smashed by the Ferrari in 18.2. Who's next across the line? It's not RB, it's still on the intermediates. Who sets a 1:22.5. Get in, son. That's great for the Haas team. Speaking of Haas, let's see as Reese making his Tier 1 debut comes around the final corner. Gabor goes fastest with a 79 in his Alfa Romeo. What can Reese do about that? He goes third with an 18.4. Well, 18.5 realistically. 17.8, we go even quicker with Ronan in his Alpine. Who's this next across the line? It's Thomas. Looked a bit wide out the final corner there, but he doesn't invalidate. On the mediums, scored 19.1. Who's next? Is it King Cobra? It is, but he's invalidated actually, so let's try and find the Alpha Tauri behind him. Why are people on intermediates? I'm so confused. And actually setting a lap. Is this like am I missing something here? I want to watch an onboard of this intermediate lap time here, because this is baffling me. He's not even using ERS actually, so I'm not quite sure what's going on. He's on an out lap. He just set a lap that we missed. Oh, it was soft floppy, so it's a 1:53.1, and he's all over the place through the first sector. Lets his teammate by, but they're both going to be on out laps now. I mean, did Ikas go for another lap? Oh, Cobra is on another lap actually. Let's watch Cobra. Very strong driver. Nicely through the chicane there. Coming up towards the end of the second sector. Nice and smooth there. Decent throttle. Round the final 2 corners now. Can he get a good exit? He didn't have to lift at all, he got the throttle just about perfect there. But up to the line it's only an 18.8, but those were on some used softs as he invalidated his first lap. Let's watch this Mercedes. Seen a couple cars go off there in the final sector. Oh no, it's just the McLaren. I believe he was looking to start his lap. That was pretty nice for the Mercedes, it looked. On the mediums, 27.6 on mediums. Let's see what he does now in the middle sector. Chose purple in the middle sector, in first sector, but on the mediums I highly doubt that. There's a Mercedes crash just up ahead. His teammate. Is his teammate on an out lap? I don't think he was actually. So that's his lap done. See if he gets back to the pit and uses soft tyres now. This looks good for the Mercedes, to be honest. Not really sure what a very good lap looks like around here, but see if he beats the current. Oh, that's not what a good lap looks like, as he loses the rear on the final corner. Up to the line, it's a 19.5. So he's faster. Well, he's faster than the intermediate runner, actually. I was going to say he's faster than Stealth, but his lap is set on the intermediates. We've got the fastest lap so far, Anthony. So that's a 1-2 for the Alpines in Q1. That's a phenomenal lap from him. Who else is going to cross the line? Don't really think we've got anyone, but Pavali also loses the rear at the final corner. It seems to be catching these tier 1 drivers out quite a bit, actually. It's Gabor. Is he starting his lap now? Yes, he is. So we get a nice onboard, as I believe he's the only one on a lap so far. He's in a really good position at the minute, up in third, but he feels he can do better, so let's see what he does here. Yellow flags just ahead. It's just the Alpine letting him through, actually. There's nothing for him to worry about for now. He can continue his lap full throttle now through the middle sector. He must be running some pretty low downforce, because he's nearly up to 200 mph through there. A bit deep, but he gets it. Oh, spins out of the second chicane. And that's not what he would have wanted. But I think he's in a good enough position where he doesn't have to worry too much about that lap. But if he felt he could go quicker, then I don't see why not to push. But that's unfortunate. He looks like he's slowing down. He might even go for a second lap on these tyres, actually. I'm not sure. He's trying to build back up some ERS. But find another driver to watch. We'll watch the Alpha Tari. He's also coming through the middle sector now. Hugging it nice and tight to the inside. Goes to the outside now to take the corner. Doesn't invalidate. That's probably very good middle sector. Into the final sector now. Final 3 corners to go. Can he keep it on track, or will he also have another moment at the final corner like we've seen very commonly so far in this first session? But in fact, no, he goes wide at the penultimate corner. He's got to bring it back around into the final corner, but he seems to get a decent enough exit. He's got plenty ERS. Up to the line, it's an 18.5. He goes 2/10 quick on himself with used tyres into P6. We'll watch his teammate as he's on an outlap, actually. Who else is on a lap ahead? There's Gabor pushing again. He's 2/10 up on his lap, so I believe he is. Like I said, this is the fastest track. Not the fastest track, the fastest sector of the track. Showing a low fuel icon, so he's got to be careful. But he spins again at the chicane. The chicane's causing him multiple problems. He wants to cut them out before the race. And definitely as these sessions go on. Because he looks like he could be in the battle for pole. Definitely P2 there. We'll watch the Ferrari now as he comes through the middle sector. He's running actually some higher downforce, not quite getting near the 200 mark. Will that allow him to go through the chicane? Well, no, it won't. Into the gravel he goes. He does well to keep it out of the grass. But what's going on in this tier 1 lobby? We've got spins after spins. I don't know who to watch here. We'll go on board with Dawson. No, he's invalidated. The AlphaTauri, he's pushing. He makes it through the chicane safely and sets the fastest middle sector according to this. Looks like he hits the wall. I think there's just a bit of lag here, so it might be smoother than it looks on my screen. Guess we'll just have to wait for him to cross the line to actually see what this is. There's cars all over the place on my screen here. Up to the line, 17.7, that's P2 for the AlphaTauri. A great lap for him, but it's quite a decent amount away from Anthony in the Alpine there. He's sitting very comfortably. Let's go on board with Dawson, who is now on a lap. See what his middle sector's saying. It's saying a 26.9, that's 5/10 quicker. Five tenths quicker in the first sector on his previous lap. That's a lot of time gain. I'm not quite sure if he was on mediums for his first lap though. Here he goes now, 7 tenths quicker. I don't know if that's just in the middle sector in total, but it's looking good as he comes now into the final sector. 4 corners remaining, but these last 6 corners have been where all the chaos seems to be happening in this lobby. The Ferrari lets him through, but he goes wide and invalidates. So we're going to go and watch the Aston Martin. He's looking a bit shaky. He invalidates through the chicane now. So I guess we get a nice onboard of the Ferrari as he starts his lap. Anthony retires as he's confident he is through, and Minardi, he retires, he can't set a lap, so he's out. An invalidation from the Ferrari, I just missed that as I was looking at the track map. So he's going to have to use tyres to get back through. Alright, we get a bit of a breather as we go into the final laps of the session. Been quite a bit of chaos just in qualifying alone. I hope for the sake of the drivers it's not the same in the race. Ferrari going very slowly in the middle sector now as he prepares for his final lap. Lets the Williams through, so actually the Williams is going to get to the line first, so we'll go on board with the Williams. I'm not sure if he was already on a lap and is just invalidated. No, he wouldn't have been, but he looks to start his lap now. Try and get the best exit he can through the final 2 corners to set him up beautifully for this long straight into turn 1 and 2. DRS wide open, ERS set the hot lap. Nicely done through the first 2 sectors. Looked almost as if the rear wanted to go on him there actually, into turn 3. Keeps it nice and smooth through this little sector here. He's got traffic ahead. I mean, he might get some dirty air here, but he could use him as a slipstream if the Mercedes doesn't get out of the way, which could definitely help. But here's a bit of a bendy straight. The Mercedes actually weaving now down into the chicane. Will the Mercedes get out of the way, or are we going to see an impeding here? He's definitely getting some dirty air now, so the Williams is going to have something to say with this Mercedes ahead. But now he gets a bit of a slipstream actually. Will the Mercedes eventually move? He does. Will that have actually benefited the Williams here? Because he did get some dirty air through the chicane, but plenty of slipstream. Slight lift there as he felt the car might have went on him, or invalidate if he went too wide. Through the final corner now. DRS wide open once again. ERS burning through the car. It's a 117.6. That's P2 for the Williams. Just what he would have liked. I just missed it. It was the Ferrari went P4. Another great lap for him. That should see him through. Who's next across the line? It will be Stealth, who's going to set his first qualifying lap on softs. Looks to get a nice exit through these pretty fast corners of the final sector. Also getting some lag, but that looked a bit deep there into the second corner. Well, second last corner, sorry. What can this lap do? It's got to be perfect. It's the last lap of the session. It's at 18.1, sees him into P7. Will that be enough? Or can cars behind go quicker? Ferrari beginning his lap. Is the Red Bull also gonna look like he's beginning his lap? Not quite sure who's on laps. I think a lot of people are just on out laps. Oh no, we found the Aston Martin on a lap. He's currently in P6 with a 17.9. It's close margins. Yeah, it's actually going slower there through the first sector. And we've got a crash in the final sector. What's happened back here? Or is it just cars slowing down? There's lots of traffic in the final corner. I thought there was a crash. Pavoli, yeah, he's backed off. He's 1.3 down on his lap now. Let's go to Reese, who begins his lap. Obviously, like I said before, first session in Tier 1, and he's half a tenth up on his lap so far through the first sector. The Red Bull is just retire next to him, and again we've got a Mercedes blocking the road. Gets off the racing line. Was that just what Reese needed? A little bit of slipstream there into the end of the second sector. It is, because he goes 2 tenths quicker, and it looked pretty nice through the chicane as he comes in the final sector now. What can he do? Will he get out safely? Well, I mean, there's only 3 drivers who are getting eliminated. He's currently safe, actually. I'm thinking it's Q2 for some reason already. Jumping the gun here. Into the final 2 sectors. Corners. Stumbling my words. As it's been an action-packed qualifying session. Just coming to a close. What can Reese do here? He can do an 18.0. 5 tenths quicker. Goes just ahead of his teammate. That's interesting. Let's see how them 2 pan out. It's very close margins for them. I believe lots of cars backing off now, but Justin has to set a good lap here. He's on the mediums, and he doesn't get out of Q1, and that is the session over. So the drivers eliminated are Minardi too slow, and unfortunately his name's fit him perfectly. Too slow to get out of Q1 yet. Doesn't even set a lap. Justin, P17. Actually, I don't want to say anything about Minardi. He might have had a qualifying ban, so I might have just said something for no reason. That would make sense. But Justin, P17, and the Red Bull of Sharp, P16, eliminated in Q1. The mediums are nice, says Justin. But yeah, I think everyone's set on softs. I think a lot of people clocked that the mediums were not the one, just a bit quicker than Justin did. That's unfortunate for him. But the margins across the board are pretty tight. And then the leader started to pull away with it, but I mean, the gap was definitely there from P15 onwards. Well deserved for the drivers to get through, just not enough from Sharp and Justin there. If Minardi did take a qualifying ban and actually has some decent pace, I'm excited to watch him throughout the course. I've seen lots of comebacks at this track so far. We had a Haas driver go from, I think it was P17 to about P8 or something at 9 overtakes. Let's see what he can do in his McLaren. But go into Q2 now, where, like I said at the end of that last session, the margins did look very close across the board. So some drivers are definitely going to have to start cutting out some of their mistakes, testing the limits to make sure they get into the top 10 shootout. Who's that coming out first? Oh, there's actually quite a lot of people coming out already. I believe it is the Williams of Thomas. Gonna need some water after that last session. It was absolutely mental of a session. So much action and it's not even the race. Oh. Yeah, of course I mentioned you come back, Darth, mate. You're a legend. Stealth's asking for another lap on Indus in Q2. As a co-TP, I might be a bit scared about my driver wanting to go out on intermediates when it's completely dry, but considering he's tier 1, I think he knows something that I don't. I'm a bit don't really know the point in that, but actually quite like this camera. Instead of going for the onboard, I think do you know what? I do need a bit of a breather, so we'll let the Williams do the commentating with this lap. See if he can set it to absolute perfection. Actually, let's quickly get this up just so I can see his lap times. Here we go then. We'll leave him to do the talking. Seen some impede in here from that Haas. I think that would have lost them some time. I was going to go completely silent for that lap, but we had to leave it. Actually, yeah, I've just noticed his time. He dropped off the time a lot there. I didn't even was paying attention more to my phone, but we've got some laps coming through now. The Ferrari, the 18.3, goes 4/10 quicker than the AlphaTauri. Will Thomas go for another lap? He should just have enough ERS to go for it and plenty fuel. So I guess, well, we'll just go behind to see some laps. Soft floppy, not the greatest of laps, but we're missing this 17.5 from the Alfa Romeo of Gabor. Goes P1 so far in this session. He will be next across the line. No, Dawson's backed off his lap and comes into the pits. So is Ali Ferrari in his Ferrari. Nice little rhyme there. Well, not rhyme, it's the same word. Here comes the Williams on his second lap, but actually I said he has plenty of ERS, but he looks like he is running out, but he's got to set this lap just as a banker. Ooh, lucky to not invalidate, actually. Very lucky there. But it does look a bit shaky. I think we'll just go quickly behind him to the Haas of Rispio7. Let's see if he can set a smoother lap time on the softs compared to the mediums just ahead of him. There's some cars behind him. Actually, the Williams pulls into the pits, so he won't set his lap. But Reese 18.4. I believe he went quicker in Q1, so there's definitely some more time to gain there. Were they used tyres? No, they weren't. Soft floppy was actually on intermediate, so I do apologise about saying that was a bad lap. It's actually a pretty decent lap, I think. We'll jump to the AlphaTauri here. He's got a pretty slow Ferrari ahead of him, who pulls into the pit, and now he can finish off his lap with clean air. Maybe not what he would have wanted. He might have liked the slipstream from the Ferrari. It's an 18.0, sees him into P3. What I did miss was the Haas of Stealth going into P2 with a 17.7. Pavali P4 18.1. That's a pretty solid lap time. And Ronan, so both Alpines are beginning their laps. Cobra looks to start his lap also. Let's go on board with Anthony, as I believe he's going to be the next person to start a lap. And he set the fastest lap time of Q1, so it should be a very entertaining lap for him. Here we go then, take it away, Mr. Anthony. I must say the Alpine looks very nice in Australia today. Love the colour of this car, and hopefully I love the look of this lap even more. And I hate to say it looked a bit shaky through the first two corners, but it could just be lag. But he does, I mean, what's it with these Mercedes and getting in the way of fast laps? There's nowhere for the Mercedes to go, and look, I mean there was a bit of lag there, but hopefully there wasn't too much lost time for Anthony. Shows purple on the track map in the first sector. I'm going to quickly jump to his teammate who looks to close out his first sector. He's actually going pretty slowly, I think he's backed off. So we're just going to go back to Anthony, who goes 44.6 in the middle sector. Oh, he loses the rear nearly. Yeah, I catch it. He did well to not fully spin the car there. But he's going to have to, I mean, I'd say pull into the pits and get another set of tyres on, because he does not have the ERS. He might even just finish this lap off just as a banker. Will he do so? Yes, he will. He's going to finish this lap off for the banker. But it's not going to be a very competitive lap time at all. We'll go to Dawson. Actually, no. We'll go to his teammate, who's just for... Oh, he's already invalidated. Never mind. Did Ronan back off? I think he did, because he saved some ERS. So we will just watch Dawson here on his lap time. He will have some slow traffic ahead as them two cars slow down. Especially his teammate is going to try and save his ERS back for his second lap. Full throttle there through turn 5. Here he goes. Is he getting a slipstream off his teammate? He's going to have to come off the inside line to avoid his teammate. I don't know if he would have liked that. He might have wanted to hug the inside line for a bit longer. Teammate didn't quite predict that one. See if the slipstream paid off. It's 44.5. That's faster than what Anthony did just before he lost the rear, but he invalidates. And he's going to have to go again, and that looked like a really solid lap time from the Mercedes. That's going to be an absolute gutter for him. Anthony's banker lap was actually P8. So right now sees him in the top 10, but there's 4 drivers yet to set a lap time. Floppy, is he weaving there just to save some tyres, or am I seeing things? I'm not quite sure if he's on a... No, he's not on a lap, because his ERS isn't being used. He is on a lap. The Mercedes is now on a lap. after invalidating. Let's see if he can keep it on track this time. He can, and he hugs that line pretty nicely. Gets a nice exit down this straight. DRS open for the second time of this lap. Bit wide in that corner. He's going to have to try and keep it nice and smooth while maximising the pace, as he definitely lost some time. He maybe wanted to carry a bit more speed through them corners, but didn't get the exit. But a 26.8 shows purple on the track map. He's got a clear track ahead of him, so doesn't have to worry about any traffic. Can keep his foot down and head in the game. 44.4 in the middle sector. Purple again. And it didn't look too bad of an exit. He doesn't invalidate and doesn't spin, so that's a big shun for him. Into the final couple of corners now. Pretty fast right-hander into the very slow left-hander. Looks to get a decent exit into the final corner. Get enough speed in the DRS zone now. Up to the line. What's it going to be for the Mercedes? A 17.5, fastest of all. He invalidates the first lap, so he had to wait for that. But he stuck to his head. He knew he was got plenty of time in that car, and he gets the most out of it. 17.5. That's a phenomenal lap. I can't even say that word. I'm that excited for him that I can't even speak. Is Ronan going again? Well, he will do in a minute. Let's see, is anyone else on a lap? No. Oh no, yes, the Ferrari is here. Who's in currently P15. So he's at the bottom of the group so far, but he's yet to set a lap. His first lap comes to an end now. It's a 17.8. That's a very good lap. Sees him in a P4. Ronan and Dawson, the Mercedes and Alpine, the only two yet to set a lap. We know Ronan's got plenty of pace in that car after seeing Q1's performance. Haas gets out of the way. Looks pretty smooth through them few corners. Into turn 5. Very nice line through there. Maximum speed 26.7 in the first sector. I'm going to ignore that it says purple, because I'm pretty sure this is a 10th down so far on the person in P1. That could mean he has a lot more straight line speed. Maximum out at 198 mile an hour into the chicane. 44.3. So it's pretty equal with the Mercedes actually. It's all going to be down in this final sector. He's also got a pretty clear track ahead of him into the final couple of corners now. The Mercedes confidently retires. He's happy with his lap. But what can Ronan do? Very slow left-hander wants to get the best exit possible into the final corner. And it looks pretty nice. Plenty of speed to finish him off on this lap. What's it going to be? It's a 17.2. That's P1 of this lap and the fastest lap, I believe, of, well, I'm going to say the entire league, because it's tier 1. That's a very impressive lap from Ronan. His teammate behind him, who set a banker lap after losing the rear and missed this lap, so he looks to compete with his teammate. Ferrari gets in the way, but I think the racing line took him where he was going anyways. Plenty of curb. That's not the greatest of exits in the final corner. It's a 17.3, so a 10th and a half down on his teammate, but that should see him comfortably through into Q2, Q3. I'm now behind. I was ahead of session in Q3, and now I'm behind. These tier 1s, I got my head jumbled with all these mistakes. Hard to keep up with what's going on. Dawson, he looks to finally set a lap. 27 flat and invalidates again. He's got to keep the pedal down because he's got to get to the line. He's got to get to the line if he wants to set a lap. Thomas, 6/10 quick on his lap behind. 30% ERS, that should just be enough to see him through this lap and hopefully into Q3. No drivers ahead for the rest of the lap, so he won't get a slipstream, but also no date yet through these slow final 2 corners. He gets the foot down now into the final straight, up to the line, DRS open. It's going to be an 18.0 P8. That could be dangerous for him. is that you won't be able to set another lap, and there's definitely cars behind you who can go faster. Like this man here, who's on a fresh set. Who else? Is anyone else ahead? On a lap, maybe? No one that's looking to get out of the bottom 5 that's on a lap, so we'll keep an eye on Reese. Yes, Reese is the furthest ahead of the drivers in the bottom 5. See what he can do. Looks like he's actually got a bit more ERS to play with into the final straight, so should benefit him. Oh, we've actually got a spinner. Aston Martin spins at the final corner. Reese up to the line, goes 8/10 quicker, the 17.6, sees him into P7. So like I said, the Williams is now actually invalidated, so he's definitely not setting another lap, and for Floppy and his McLaren goes P8, so the Williams is definitely eliminated. Who else? Dawson is also eliminated. King Cobra eliminated. Pavelli eliminated. What can the AlphaTauri do? Can he get out of the bottom 5, and that will eliminate the Ferrari of Iker? He's already flat, he's on full traction, so he can hopefully reach his top speed. Well, the B only P11. He goes up 7.5 tenths, but it's just not enough. 2 tenths the gap to the drop zone. And unfortunately for the Williams, he is indeed eliminated. And that sees another 5 drivers kick the bucket so far in this session. And we've got 10 remaining who look to battle it out for pole position. Well, I've already read them out, but we'll do it again. The AlphaTauri of Solly eliminated. Only a 10th off. And similarly for Thomas and his Williams, only 2 tenths off. But then the gap proceeds to extend as the Aston Martin of Pavelli, who I believe spun at the final corner while on a lap, so that's a shame for him. And then King Cobra, another 7 tenths further back than that, P14. And Dawson in the Mercedes, when you see his teammate up there in P5, I mean, he just couldn't get the lap in, so it's not, I mean, it's unfortunate, but you've got to set the lap. I told you, it's going to get to the point where you've got to cut out the mistakes, because the gaps are that tight. The one tiny mistake could be the difference between seeing you through into Q3 and not, and unfortunately, he just doesn't get through. I thought the other 2 sessions were stressful. I'd see what Q3 has in store for her, because this is where it all matters. This sets you up for the race. Who's got the balls to go first? Take the spotlight, deal with the pressure and set a lap, because in Q3 you don't, most drivers only have one set of fresh sets of soft tyres, so the lap has to matter on them fresh tyres. It's looking like the Mercedes is going to go first. He set a very impressive lap. That's not true, it's actually the Ferrari who's going to go first. Oh no, the Alfa Romeo, sorry. We've seen this actually in another race I commentated. Oh, cheeky invalidation through the first corner on his outlap. Showed us a nice drift there as he tries to warm the tyres up to optimal levels to get the most out of them. Oh. Let's see what the tier 1 chat's actually saying. Give the stream some updates just before he begins his lap. Big claims from Reese-B07. I'm fucking sick. Sorry for my language, just repeating the driver. Lots of complaints actually I've seen. Drivers don't seem too happy with the conditions on track. Well, I think that's the drivers who are getting eliminated, but I think the drivers who are through are pretty happy so far. But yeah, we go then. Gabor begins his lap, gets his foot down now through the final corner. DRS is finally open for him, and he's underway. Looks to not invalidate like he did coming out of the pits. hugs that line beautifully. That was a great angle through the first two corners. You can see how tight he got there. He's definitely found out the limits for the first two corners after invalidating. Oh, I don't want to say it looked a bit shaky, but it definitely does. His rear keeps stepping out on him, but he keeps it going. 26.8, not an awful first sector to be fair to him, after it looked a bit shaky. So it could be a bit more time in there for him. Middle sector now, flat out the whole way through. Imagine that sector with DRS, he'd absolutely fly through there into the chicane. Oh, looking pretty decent through the chicane actually. I thought he was going to go there. The car sort of like just locked in place on the exit. Through the final two corners goes Gabor. Oh, but he spun it! He got a bit too trigger happy there on the throttle. And he, like, I don't know what you call it. I think it's called a tank slapper when the rear steps out. And that's exactly what's happened in 18.6. Surprisingly not the slowest time we've seen today after a big mistake. 18.0 for Anthony. Is the track slowing down? Because we saw nearly a 17.0 through the first two sessions. Ekiz goes off after setting an 18.5. Soft floppy 18.2. He's now invalidated, but it doesn't matter because he set his lap. Stealth will be next across the line. Comes through the final two corners now. He doesn't make a mistake, so he can set his lap happily. He set an 18.1, half a tenth down onto Anthony. Track must have slowed down. Oh wait, no, they'll be using these tyres actually, won't they? That would make a lot of sense. I believe they're all on used tyres because, yeah, there we go. Ronan on fresh set of tyres goes 17.3. I was gonna say, there's no way the track's lost 7/10 without being fully wet. Well, not fully wet, but yeah. Having a bit of wet on that. So, who's next across the line? Don't think anyone's gonna be pushing anymore. So it should be Riso, never mind, he's invalidated, so we'll jump to the AlphaTauri. 26.6 in the first sector. That's a pretty good first sector for him. I believe he's on a fresh set of softs. 44.2, a very good middle sector also. Ooh. Wanna say that's lag, but it looks like the rear stepped out and him out of the chicane. If that's the case, he's done well to keep it on track. But for his sake, I hope it's lag, because it looked very good through the first two sectors. But he's held the lap, he doesn't go into the pit, so he's going to finish his lap. And it's going to be a 17.1, so there's definitely a bit of lag as he sets a phenomenal lap in Q3. And here comes the Ferrari, 17.3. That's P3 for him. I want to see it, the third driver to use a fresh set. But this can definitely get a lot more interesting because there's definitely a lot more drivers to set laps on the fresh set, so I can only compare to the qualifying 2 times, but I want to say Ballas in his AlphaTauri looks pretty good up there so far. It's a very good time. Is Reese pushing? Because he's run out of VRS. I don't know if he's going to come into the pits and then stick on another set of softs, which I would highly recommend to him, if he's got another set, that is. He's not. He is going to finish this lap. Should just be a banker. Yeah, 18.7. He doesn't move any positions. It's the slowest lap time in Q3 so far, but to be fair to him, he used set of tyres and he was out of VRS through the final 2 sectors. Who else do we have to set laps? Gabor is going to begin his lap, and Ali Ferrari will be pulling in the pits. So we'll stay on board. Well, we'll go for an off-board POV actually of Gabor. See if he can do any better than his first lap, which is an 18.6 so far. Very similar line to his first lap, obviously now on fresher tyres, so that should see him to have a very good first sector if he can keep the same momentum all the way through. But never mind, he's had a big snap and he's gonna have to back off. He can't set this lap because he needs to save them fresh tyres, but he keeps, well, he's invalidating now, so he's definitely going to slow down. There's a yellow flag, so I can't see how long's left of the session. He may have to maybe struggling for time. Well, actually no, if he was struggling for time, I'm sure a lot more drivers would be out on track. Gonna just quickly adjust my camera settings. Oh, I can't because I'm not driving a car. I hate that. I want to move the yellow flag out of the way of the clock so I can see how much time's left. Oh well, guess another breather for me as we look to prepare ourselves for the final laps of key 1, key 3, as people battle for P1, was what I was trying to say. Oh. This might be the most stressful commentary I've done. So much going on, and the margins are extremely close. Looks like, what Ferrari is that? That's gonna go and set his final lap. Can't see, apparently. Oh, there we go. Oh, this is a lovely line through turn 1 and 2 there. So you can see he gets a beautiful exit on his outlap. That's phenomenal stuff from the Ferrari. That might see him on the pole there. And an even nicer, look at how tight he got the wall there. And again, this is phenomenal stuff from the Ferrari. He needs his own tier with this pace. This isn't tier 1 stuff, this is like tier -5, mate. That's beautiful from him. Actually, he's quite a bit further ahead than everyone else, so as everyone looks to begin their out laps for their final laps, he might catch himself in some traffic if he's not careful. I might actually be a fan of all these corner cuts because he's got to get a bit of a move on to not get himself caught in so much traffic. But he will start to slow down now in the final sector to keep his tyres in the optimal temperature. But as you can see, some more drivers starting to get away. We'll go for an onboard this time of Ali Ferrari, currently P3. I'm not sure if this will be, let's check, this is another fresh set of tyres actually. Begins his lap, takes a much different line to his out lap obviously. Still looks pretty good. But here comes the traffic, like I mentioned, he's got a Mercedes again. I think that's probably like the 5th time that's happened where Mercedes has been ahead of someone on a fast lap. See if they actually get out of the way. They do. 26.8 in the first sector. That's a 10th up on his time so far. The Alpine stays to the outside, so that allows him to take the inside line, which I believe is the optimal line for the middle sector, as he comes up to the very tricky chicane. 2 tenths up. 44.3. Pretty decent line there, he doesn't spin. So all he's got left is, another pretty tricky sector. He can easily go wide in these corners, definitely spin at the final corner. But it looks pretty good so far, keeping a decent amount of momentum whilst keeping it on track. Through the final 2 corners now. How early would he want to put that foot down? He does it fairly early, to be fair to him. Looks to maximise his potential, and it's a 17.1. He goes even quicker than the AlphaTauri. That's a great lap for him. And I believe Ronan is going quicker. He's going a 10th quicker. That's the fastest we've seen so far. What's the car behind him going to do? 26.7, 2 tenths quicker. But we'll definitely stay on board with Ronan. Or is there someone... Actually, Stealth is going 3 tenths quicker. much further ahead on the track, so we'll go on board with him through the final sector. We've got some yellow flags in the first sector, lots of cars backing off. Gabor's actually retired from the session. That could slow some cars down. Where's Stealth going to put it? He's going to put a P4 as he goes 7/10 quicker. Anthony... Oh no, it'll be Soft Floppy actually next across the line. Will it? Oh no, sorry, Ronan. Ronan comes in the pit, he invalidates. So that's his qualifying over. And there's definitely going to be cars going faster behind him. That's not what he would have wanted. 17.6 for Floppy, 6/10 quicker. So now it's Anthony. He's 3/10 up on his lap so far. Oh, and another shake for him. Anthony makes another mistake in Q3. It sets him P5 with a 17.4 behind... Well, he's behind the Haas, who's now in an Alpine sandwich so far. Ballas backs off from his lap. And he's invalidated. I'm not sure what's going on here, but I believe... Yes, I don't need to believe anymore. I know for a fact that Ali Ferrari has taken pole position for the Australian Grand Prix. And again we see another Mercedes fail to set a lap in the session. And that's just not what you would have wanted. He had some good pace as well. So the grid stands Ali Ferrari in his Ferrari, P1, followed by Ballas in the AlphaTauri, Ronan in the Alpine, who puts the top bit of bread on the Alpine sandwich, which he's Stealth, is the filling, and Anthony is the bottom bit of bread, followed by Reese, who actually puts the bottom bit of bread on a Haas sandwich for Anthony. That could be interesting. Then followed closely by Soft Floppy in the McLaren, then the Ferrari in P8, Gabor P9, who sets, well, I don't think he was able to set a fresh set of softs time. And then in P10, rounding off Q3, is the Mercedes, yet to set a lap. Well, didn't set a lap because the session's over. That's going to be a bit gutting for him, but he's got to stay focused for the race. Good pace. I expect to see him towards the end of the race getting up there, definitely fighting towards, I'd say, even the podium sort of places. Whew. Alright then, the formation lap begins. Earlier than planned, and we've got some disqualifications for Pavelli and Dawson. I mean, someone's readied up, and according to the Tier 1 chat, this is actually causing quite a few issues. One of the people complaining was the AlphaTauri in P2. I hope that doesn't cause him too many issues, because these two at the front were very close on pace. What I do love to see, non-biased at all, is Stealth and Reese in the top 10. I didn't even pay attention to that. Obviously, there are two very good drivers, so I did expect them to be there, but impressive stuff from them too, especially Reese, who, well, a month or two ago was a Tier 3 driver, and is now making his Tier 1 debut, only as a reserve though. We're missing the big Iceman, the GOAT himself. Oh. I think he thinks he's on his outlap from the Q3, mate. He's just hitting all the walls again. Oh, look at him go. Like I said, I thought he was tier -5, but it looks like he's tier 1 on Wreckfest from this performance. He's on the wrong game, mate. He's playing GTA 5. Alright. Lots of lag across the grid, so I can't really tell what's happening. Disqualified for the Ferrari, and looks like some very nice parking from both the Alpine and the AlphaTauri, and even the Haas if he gets a good enough exit to attack him. But I bet Ferrari, well, we'll just call him Ali, because saying Ferrari and Ferrari just doesn't, well, it flows pretty nicely, but it's a bit of a tongue twister. But here we go then. Beginning 5 red lights. What? Is it even loaded? Oh, here we go. It's 5 red lights. Oh, out. And away we go. Oh, he actually gets a brilliant exit. And as you can see, Stealth is wheel to wheel. It's 3 wide into turn 1. AlphaTauri backs out and there's contact everywhere. I think this is just a bit of lag. What just happened? The Alpine has just mounted the Haas, but if there's no damage there and just a bit of lag, I doubt the Haas is going to complain too much. There's contact at the back. There's a big crash as Cobra takes the run off as he's made contact with the AlphaTauri, I believe. And the Red Bull gets held up and all of that as well. And the McLaren. It's carnage at the back as there's already a massive gap between, well, the top 13 and everybody else. Look at how close this is for everyone. Oh, actually, the Ferrari looks to go around the outside into the chicane. Can he brake late enough while keeping it on track? He can. That's a brilliant move. And in fact, Thomas, the Williams, has to go off track to avoid it. I think he made a mistake trying to outbrake the Ferrari. Ferrari now up to P9. And the Mercedes, I said it, I did say it, up to P10. He's having a great start of this race after a pretty poor qualifying. I don't know why I keep getting showed the strategy. I've seen it once, I don't need to see it twice. But here comes the Haas of Reese overtaking the AlphaTauri. I think the AlphaTauri is in AI mode, and that's why you complain about an issue. Because he seemed to brake pretty late there, and Reese flew through. If you look towards the front, there's some big gaps. A second gap between P4 and 3. 1.7 the gap between P3 and 2, and then 1.3 between the top 2. So I think I'll keep an eye around this area for battles, as it looks very tight too with that. The Mercedes with a bit of a rear end shake. And EK's after getting himself into the points, spins it and beaches the car. Oh, never mind. But that's a safety car. Did he... He stopped on track there for quite a while and was not beached. So is that forcing a safety car? Or is he just being too cautious and... Oh no, not safety car, this is a VSC, sorry. So that's actually probably what... That's probably a right call from the FIA, to be honest. I thought he had forced a safety car there, but never mind. Hopefully if Stealth gets a decent jump, he might be able to gain some time, but he's dropped back a bit. but we go green already, and he actually dropped off a bit too much. I don't think he's expecting that. So the gap now 2.2. Reese closes the gap a bit to the Alpine. He's doing very impressively, I don't think that's a word, he's doing very well, we'll say, in his Tier 1 debut. He looks to fend off the Mercedes, and Ballas, yeah, he's disconnected from the session now, and is actually holding up Gabor. Gabor goes through him, and lots of cars are going wheel to wheel. There was 2, 3 wide there. Look at them attacking. This is a great perspective of the Mercedes, Alpine, Aston Martin all battling through the middle sector, and the Mercedes is into the wall. Dawson, after a great start of this race, has just absolutely chinned it into the wall. Front wheel goes flying off his car, and I don't think a safety car will come out because we've just had a VSC, but that should definitely be a safety car in my eyes. That's a big crash for him. And then, oh, and the Aston Martin of Pavetti has spun it. Oh, that's such a shame for him, as he had such a good comeback after being eliminated in Q2, and no stealth. I don't know what happened there, but the Haas of Stealth, who was sitting P2 pretty comfortably, has now spun it and sits down in P9. But that promotes Ronan and Reese up a place. So that's Reese now onto the podium, who's shortly followed by the Mercedes of Akos. And just ahead of him is Ronan, and they've got a 4.6 second gap to close down to Ali Ferrari. Actually, I don't like that one without qualifying, so we'll have the telemetry up. Oh, I've just missed that. He catches it very nicely, to be fair, the Mercedes, after a spin. Only P7. Keeps it going. Not an awful spin, to be fair, but it does open up the gap now. Reese can comfortably sit in P3 if he wants to. Oh, we've got a retirement, actually. I've just missed it again, and that's another safety car. The safety car does come out now. Oh. And I think Dawson, oh no, Dawson had already crashed, sorry. I thought he stayed in because it wasn't a safety car, but both Mercedes, within 4 laps of racing, have DNF from the Tier 1 race already. And this is going to be very interesting, as a lot of drivers are all going to close in after we saw some gaps open up, sorry, very early on. They're all going to come to a close, and Ferrari pits. Did he have damage from the start? It doesn't look, no, he's not even getting a tyre change, he's just going to go on to hards. He's comfortably leading. I mean, if this pays off, fair play, mate, hats off to you. But I'm not sure that's the right call. And Stealth, who did have damage, comes into the pits. Never mind. I thought I seen a front wing getting taken out there, but he's joining the Ferrari, and a few others are also joining the Ferrari on the strategy call. And since a Haas driver's done it, I can't slate it anymore, because then I'll get some grief as the code TP. So for their sake, I hope it's the right strategy call. But it's now promoted Reese into P2, doing phenomenally. That's the better way, not incredibly, or impressively, I think I said. And Ronan into P1. Still a few drivers sitting as back markers, need to close the gap, specifically King Cobra, who actually got a penalty early on. I think that was for a collision, which seen the AlphaTauri DNF from the race. This could get... We're only 5 laps in, and there's been plenty carnage, but I think this, in the long run, this safety car alone could definitely spice a few things up, especially with some of the leaders being able to refresh, stick some fresh sets of tyres on after some mistakes, and get racing again. But if the AlphaTauri of Ballas can get back in the session, since he was already on the hards, he's actually closed back up the gap he got after being disconnected and sits in the points. I think he actually is back in the session, so that should be good for him. We're not going to go this lap because, like I said, still got a few drivers to close up the gap. We'll have a look at the tyres quickly. Yeah, just mediums and hard across the board. No one's going on a soft this early, that would be quite stupid. But actually, Ronan's on the hard, so Reese theoretically should be able to get a decent, well, better exit to Ronan if he times it perfectly, and would be able to definitely give him a few, send a few moves in the reopening laps. Right, everyone's caught back up, so if I'm not mistaken, should definitely be getting ourselves back underway. I'd say for, not just for my breath and voice, but for the drivers as well. This will be a very good safety car, just to sort of calm the nerves, get themselves into the race after a chaotic opening, and yeah, safety car coming back in. And as a driver myself, I know you've got to focus on obviously not hitting cars ahead and behind, whilst being able to get the tyres up to optimal temps. And for all the hard runners, it's going to be a lot harder. So for Haas's sake, being biased again, I hope Reese can get them up to a better temperature. Well, actually, that's not even me being biased. I just want to see him attack the Alpine and make this race exciting, because there's definitely a bit of pace difference between the two in qualifying. But here we go then. He leaves it. Is he going to leave it late, or is he going to go early? He goes quite early. Reese didn't quite expect that. A bit of weaving. Will he be able to close the gap? It doesn't look like it, so you're not going to be able to attack him through the first couple of corners. And he doesn't take the tightest possible line. We're just going to quickly go behind. We don't see many battles going on. These two dropping back. I think they're in AI mode, to be honest, because just through a couple of corners they're closing back off. Gaps already seem to be opening. There's no one really sending some moves. This is where all the chaos was before, was just the top 5. Well, from second to like about P5, P6. The drivers were all so close to each other on pace and were sending moves left, right and centre. So we'll keep an eye. We'll just go on board with Anthony to get a good view of the battle for second between P2 and 3. As you can see, Gabor on the hards goes for a move and is actually wheel to wheel with Reese, but Reese outbrakes him. Gabor looks for the switchback, he won't get a good enough exit and actually just sits behind the Haas for now. He goes wide. That could be a warning for the Alfa Romeo. Anthony goes a bit wide in the final corner. Looks to make up some time to the Alfa Romeo, and it looks like he's doing that with a very good exit into the final straight. Well, final or finish start straight, something like that. Don't really know what to call it. God, my breath's gone and we've only out 8 laps. Am I seeing someone flashing there? Has someone already run out of the DRS? No. Oh, Stealth has spun. The complete contrast to his teammate is Stealth is having a bit of a howler here so far in the opening laps after starting very well, but his teammate, who claims to be way too slow for this tier, is putting up a very good showing. However, he does drop a second behind the Alpine just before ERS has even opened, and is draining quite a bit of his ERS as he's under threat from Gabor close behind. And a very fast Anthony in his Alpine just a bit behind that as well. Seeing some position changes in the midfield. Minardi in the McLaren and the AlphaTauri seem to be going wheel to wheel. He has to go wide, and just ahead of that you see Thomas also go wide. That promotes Ferrari up another place on them fresh hards. And what's happened here? We go 3 wide. I like this camera angles. You can see them go 3 wide. Well, now they've all split off actually. It's only 1 wide. And a bit wide there for Sharp. And for Minardi, he was fighting up in P8 and has dropped 3 positions. And actually clips the wall there. Or just right on board of them to get a perspective of the battle ahead. He's also... Thomas has hit turn... He's spun at turn 6. And that's another safety car. What's a... Honestly, I can't say much myself because I also crashed out at turn 6. But it's such a challenging corner. And even the likes of the tier 1s can just not get it right. And it's just... It's causing carnage because drivers have to... Even with ghosting, they have to be careful of debris to not get punctures. Obviously if they're wheel to wheel or like it... Before they ghost, they have to get out of the way. It's such a tight sector that you've just got to be careful. I hope there wasn't any collateral damage for the drivers around them. We'll have a look at some position gains, will we? Oh, Justin up 12. So, I was saying, it just wasn't enough pace for him. Well, up 14 now as he doesn't pit, as Reese comes into the pits to get off them used mediums. Unfortunate for him actually that another safety car would come out. That's not what he would have wanted actually. But hopefully now it works to his advantage. But look at this. This is a pretty dangerous sight because we've seen the pace of the 2 Alpines as they now sit 1 and 2. And won't have to make a pit stop for quite a little while now. Followed by Justin, who's up 14. He started P17. I gave him a bit of stick. I said the pace wasn't just enough for him to get through. Oh no, sorry. I remembered actually he was on the mediums, wasn't he? So he wasn't able to get through on mediums. And in the race, he showed what pace he had in the car as he gets up to P14. And Ali, who's already made a pit stop onto his hards, is in a P4 now, and he's followed by the person who sat second in P5, so he's actually back up, and Minardi is actually now back battling with Ballas after some pit stops. He's up 12 places actually, to be fair to Minardi. Who's that all the way at the back? It's Thomas, who would have had to make a pit stop for the fresh front wing. As it was him who caused the safety car. Reese still sits on the points for now. Obviously still got some drivers there to make another pit stop. And I'd even say he might have to. Or he would definitely be struggling at the end of the race. For Reese's sake, I'd say definitely stay on the hards for a while. Then maybe last couple laps just pray for another safety car. Get yourself on the softs. And hope for the best, I reckon. Because if these go 19 laps, he's going to struggle. As these drivers are going to be on like only a few lap old mediums, which will be a lot quicker. Who's that? Floppy comes into the pits. He must have had some damage somewhere along the lines of this safety car. Or just decided that he wants to go for a slight undercut. I think at this stage, undercut. Well, I wouldn't say unlikely because it is under a safety car, but it's a pretty big one, definitely by like a couple laps. What's just happened here then? Sharp gets a 5-second penalty for a collision on stealth. Trying to see if there's any damage on Sharp. Now let's try and see if there's any damage on stealth. I don't think so. And for both drivers' sakes, I hope there isn't any damage. But for Sharp, who apparently caused the incident, He's just, I mean, it's under a safety car. Little lapse of concentration, that could be the difference. That's just what's got him a 5-second penalty, unfortunately. Stealth, unless it's because of stealth lagging. Because stealth is all over the place when I'm watching from Sharp's point of view, but I've seen that on a lot of drivers. Alright, we're actually underway, so we're gonna jump to the front of the pack. Will Anthony attack his teammate? He's got a second gap to his teammate, so I think he's just trying to defend, but they've both actually had good starts. Ronan weaving, we've had yet another accident happen, I think. The McLaren back into the pits, yellow flags. I think, yeah, Cobra definitely, definitely in AI mode, because it's going very slowly through the first couple of corners. Ooh, what happened to Ronan? I missed this. He must have made a mistake somewhere, because he's down to P4. And Ali Ferrari on his fresh hards is up into P3. So I slated his strategy, and I completely apologise for it, because he's only 1.6 behind Anthony and is already pitted onto his hards. Yes, they'll be much more worn. We've had another spin, and Minardi is out of the session in the middle sector, and another safety car. So I've just said that, but now will Anthony and Justin come into the pits for their fresh tyres? But 17 laps on mediums is very unlikely if he goes onto them now. He's not. He is going to. And Justin isn't. He's actually caught Justin off guard. I don't know if Justin wanted to pit there. But there's going to be a double stack between Anthony and Ronan. Ronan tries to make a cheeky overtake. But wait, Ferrari's coming back into the pits. So, Justin's in the lead. I want to pull up the tyres. Justin in the lead. Old tyres for P2. And then from P3 to P6, it's completely fresh tyres. But not, ahead of the leaders who have just pit. So Reese doesn't have a penalty. I thought he did there, but that's Sharp. Pardon me. It's up into P4 again on his fresh hards. So actually, I think this early safety car has done him a world of good here. I did say he wanted to maybe have it a bit later, but it should work pretty decently for the Haas driver. His teammate on a fresh set of mediums all the way down there in P13 has got Floppy ahead and King Cobra behind, who are on slower tyres. And Cobra's obviously got a penalty. I just want to check. I can sort of tell by the brake and if he's in AI mode. But I don't want to say he's in AI mode, because if he's not, I'll feel a bit bad. But I do know Cobra's an excellent driver, so he's got to be in AI mode, right? Surely. Okay, yeah. Yeah, he is. Alright. Good. It's gonna say this. I actually want to watch the restart from Gabor's point of view, because he's got the fresher tyres, or the fastest tyres, in the top 5. So he can definitely attack the two leaders. Honestly, I'm bit out of practice with the commentary. My throat's getting so dry, yeah. I want to see if Ali Ferrari. Actually, let's check the race director now. Actually, as we get to about the midpoint, catch up on some penalties. So, actually, Cobra apparently got a 3-second penalty for corner cutting, and then shortly after, Solly disconnected. So I'm not too. So I'm not too sure what's happened here between these two. I'm sure that'll probably be for the FIA of the actual league to decide. Lots of track limits. Stealth is up to 2 warnings, I can see. Stealth is on 2 warnings. I don't know if he's already gotten his penalty. Cobra's gotten one. No one in the lead? Oh no, Ferrari's got 1 penalty, actually. Who's had the most incidents, does it say? Not much here. Oh well, I believe the safety car's coming in. Yep, so we'll ignore the race director for now. So that's not what matters. What matters is the battles on track, as there's not many penalties. sorry about that quick break in the commentary and some stream issues, but should be sorted now. There's been a lot of carnage which I tried to catch on the stream. I don't know if I quite got everything, but as the safety car restarts, the Haas of Stealth is back up into P2. I've just caught there, Pavelli had a spin, and there's been a lot more carnage as we start to head towards the closing laps of this race. And after another safety car, everyone is so close to each other. Only 12 drivers left, all within 10 seconds of each other. Well, I think. Another overtake as Reese gets overtaken and he starts to struggle on these tyres. Well then, actually he's pitted again, so I think he's just struggling in general to find some pace. Obviously, like I mentioned before, it's his tier 1 debut. It's not quite, well, he's a tier 2 driver, but unfortunately he can't make them races. That's the race here. But Gabor on pretty old tyres now, and will be very old tyres come the end of the race. We've got a 3-second penalty for Ali Ferrari, the former race leader. Down in PA takes a 3-second penalty. Ronan, the Alpine still battling. We've seen them nearly hit each other before, which gave Anthony take a little bit of wing damage. And it's now picked up a penalty. Ooh, Ballas sort of teased the move there. And well, yeah, that's quite a common overtaking place, but was a bit far back to be fair. The gap's starting to expand at the top. It's now 8 tenths between first and second. Gabor sets fastest lap, closely followed by Ronan, who's on, well, he's the furthest one up on the freshest tyres and doesn't have a penalty. We'll quickly pull up the penalties here. 3 seconds for both Stealth and Gabor, and then also Anthony and Ballas. So currently, I'm pretty sure the top, well, the leader is Ronan. Ballas gets overtaken by Justin as a snap, which invites Reese to make a move. Reese may want to rush this as it gets to the end of the race. He wants to get ahead of Ballas and keep close to Justin and within the 3-second gap of Anthony. I'm going to jump back ahead as Ronan closes down the gap to Stealth. Remember, Ronan does not have to rush this move because he is in P1, but at the same time he doesn't want Gabor to run away with this and pull away from the gap. Will he make the move? Stealth turns into him. This is slowing them down loads. I don't know what Stealth was thinking there. Fully closes off that gap for Ronan, but Ronan forces his way through and sticks him in an Alpine sandwich as Anthony now looks to attack him. Anthony with a lot more ERS to play with, and oh, we've got another spin at the back in his Cobra. So actually, he mustn't have been in the I mode. I think he's just really struggling today, unfortunately. Not normal signs for Cobra. Like I said, a very good driver. Oh, too wide. Justin sends a move on Anthony. There is contact. We're going to go to this POV. Justin forces his way through on Anthony, but there was contact. Bit of a controversial move there. And actually, they lost a lot of momentum, so Ballas is caught back up. And these two drivers both have penalties. Ooh, that's lag. That wasn't a snap, that was lag. So Ballas stays closely behind Alpine. He's draining a lot of battery. They both have very similar ERS now. He goes into the wall actually. Will he go around the outside of the chicane? No, he won't. But Anthony did have to cut that. I don't think that was a warning though. At least not enough to give him another penalty. But now Ali Ferrari has joined the battle. He sent a move and he's actually clipped the Alpine. And they're round. The Alpine and the AlphaTauri are round and are tumbling down the order. Reese up to P5 now with a 2-second gap with the cars ahead. And penalties for every driver behind him. Reese does not have to get overly aggressive and push, because if he can just maintain this current position or stay within the gaps of the cars behind, P5 is a very strong outing for this lovely gentleman. And Justin looks for a move onto the Haas. That was a pretty easy move. as the tyres start to come into play. Pavetti retires just before the pit. I don't know if that's another safety car. Are you joking me? 5 safety cars in 20... Is that 5 safety cars? I think, yeah, 5 safety cars in 24 laps of racing in the highest tier in GSRL. I think that just shows how tricky this track actually is. Like, what? Again, that's mental because with Gabor's penalty and everyone closing back up, he's going to tumble down the order even more. Stealth looks like he's only going to drop 1 place. Actually, I'll put the penalties back up again. How do I do that again? There we go. So yeah, he would only drop 1 place to his teammate, and I wouldn't be surprised if we've seen Stealth actually let through his teammate. As Code TP can actually give team orders, I might just ask them to do that, because that would benefit us a lot more. I'm sure that's already in the back of the mind of Stealth. Dear me. Contact between Stealth and Justin there. It's a little tag on the rear. Just remind them that he's there. Am I seeing some clouds? There could be some rain on the way. Oh, that was lagging. Oh, right. Oh. I hope that's lag, because he's just giving him quite the ramming up the rear. That's a very sus sentence. But, I mean, this is beautiful scenes. I'm seeing 2 Hasses in the top 5, and I'm also seeing my main man, Reese B07, the reserve, making his debut in a tier above where he actually was placed. Currently sit in provisional P3 after penalties. Oh my god, what is this race? The one race I decided to pick is just absolute chaos. I'm not going to have a voice for the next 2 weeks. What's happening here? Yes, 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 yes. Stealth, you sexy man. He's done it. He let him pass before the restart. Oh, that's sensational stuff from the Haas drivers. That's a proud Code TP moment, if you ask me. And perfect timing as well. Also, if we're watching, by the way, that was planned between the Haas drivers. Reese hasn't just overtaken Stealth under a safety car. That was a complete planned moment. Stealth has done that on purpose and played the team game. I want no penalties on my drivers for that, please. We'll ignore Stealth whacking it into a wall there also. Stealth, he's just going to hold everyone up behind the top three. I don't think that's strictly legal. We want to get a bit of a shift on you. But he's given Reese a 1.3 second gap and it's gotten in the way, and we've basically got 2 restarts here between the top 3 and then the rest of the grid. Justin looked for a slight move onto Ronan there. I want to pull back up the tyres. Everyone in the top 3 all has the same amount of tyres. We've got a crash at the back. Anthony and Floppy and Cobra all make contact at the back. And they have fallen well off. But thankfully, there's only 11 drivers, so the majority of them are staying in the points. Sharp has a moment, stays, only loses a few places, and now Cobra's right in the back of him. Cobra looks for a move into the end of sector 1. What's going to happen here? It just means the Red Bull has to go a bit wide. We're going to jump up the places as we see Stealth holding up the bottom 7 positions as he leads the majority of the train in P4. The tyres, so actually he's got very fast cars behind, and Ronan spun! The race leader has spun down to P7, and that promotes Reese into P2. I was going to say both Haas drivers in the podium places, but Stealth just does not have the tyres to compete with these fresh softs. And unfortunately, you've just got to pray with 2 laps left, Reese and Justin can stay ahead of the faster cars behind and not allow them to pull a 3-second gap on them. Can Reese even win this race? Am I actually thinking that that's a possibility? After reading the Haas chat, you would have thought he wouldn't even get points today after what he was saying, and he's now battling for the race win with 2 laps left. They're equal on ERS, but he is draining, and now Justin begins to drain also to defend his place. They both stop now. About a 6/10 gap to the cars behind. Stealth has now dropped down to P5. He's now at P6, where I think he'll stay by the end of this race, even with that penalty. Maybe even P7, but still not terrible considering the gap. But Reese is having to defend now from not 1 but 2 cars, the Alfa Romeo and the Ferrari. And for his sake, he's got to hope that they latch onto Justin very quick. No, he's been spun! Ali Ferrari has T-boned Reese. Oh, you're joking me. That's the second time where Ali Ferrari has just had no business making an overtake and has spun out the driver ahead. And now Ronan is battling Reese, makes the move, and Reese has now got to go off track. And Reese is now being overtaken again, and he's all the way down to P8. And all the blame lies on Ali Ferrari. I mean, I'm not even being biased there, everyone can agree, that's just stupid racing from Ferrari. He's just taken out Reese, who is sitting very nicely in P2. He's on faster tyres. And he's just ruined not only his race, because now he's dropped down behind Stealth again, but also, more importantly, Reese's race. He's done absolutely nothing wrong. He hasn't put a foot wrong this race, I don't think, from watching him. That's unfortunate. But we jump to the front where it looks like Justin is going to win the Australian Grand Prix in his Aston Martin. And it will actually be Gabor in 2nd place, Ballas in 3rd place after having some issues in the first couple laps where he was overtaken a lot. But yeah, we see now the Aston Martin wins the Australian Grand Prix, closely followed by Gabor, and the AlphaTauri centered in the wall. Stealth P4, a brilliant finish for him in the house. And Reese sadly finishes P7 after what looked like an easy P2. And Ali Ferrari, get yourself, like, that's just disgusting. Honestly, it's one of them where you've just got to realise, like, that is completely your fault. And I'd definitely say there's a few penalties coming his way, so hopefully he gets a penalty and that promotes Reese back up a place. Ah, what a shame. There we see the Aston Martin of Justin proudly holding his trophy. Well deserved after starting P17. I mean, you can go back in the stream, I called it. I knew there was something coming from him. There's something about comebacks at Australia. We've seen plenty of them, and that's phenomenal from him. Driver of the day for me has got to be Justin. Rounded off on the podium by Gabor and Ballas. We'll quickly scroll through the entire grid. Penalties all over, and only 11 finishers, which was followed by 9. Oh no, it would only be 7 DNFs. Solly didn't even finish one lap, unfortunately. Both Mercedes closely followed DNF, and not a great result for the Mercedes. Look at that, Ronan. Oh no, Ali Ferrari finished P6 and is pitted 6 times. What? That's absolutely mental. Wow. Yeah, look, Ali Ferrari warned collision with JB Sharp. And then he proceeded to take out Anthony. And unfortunately Reese. But that has been the Tier 1 Australian Grand Prix. I believe it's Hungary next week, so we'll all see you there. Thank you for watching.